Hi guys, welcome to Yogaphyziozone. I'm Sinead and this is the fifth in my Beat the Bug yoga series. Today we're going to do about a 25-minute class on hips, and I'm going to keep to my time limit this time. So hips are really important, obviously, but what's interesting about hips is they are the junction between what happens in our legs and what happens up our spine, okay? So they transmit the forces that we apply on our foot and knee and our leg joints, let's say, and they transfer those forces up the spine. So for example, I'll try and move back so you can see me. If, for example, I'm somebody who's got really flat feet, my feet are turning in like that, you can see the way that brings my knees in and it internally rotates my hips. And then if I have feet where I have weight more on the outside, it externally rotates my hips. So it's really important, particularly in standing poses, that you get the foot position right to activate the muscles of your hips. Not only that, but for example, if I'm doing the same movement side on, and I'm kind of flattening my feet and internally rotating my hips, you can see the way that kind of sticks my bum out behind me a little bit more, which puts more compression on my lower back. So what happens in your hips is really important for your back as well. And then you have, furthermore, you've even more connections up along the whole chain, up towards your head and your shoulders and everything. So anyway, let's get started. I'm going to get you to lie down on your mat. Now, if you have a belt, a yoga belt, or any kind of a belt, or any kind of something, even an old pair of tights or something you could use just for a couple of stretches, should be kind of firm enough so you can get a bit of force, okay? You'll see how we go in a minute, okay? So I'm going to get you to lie down on your mat. We'll do a very kind of a quick warm-up, and we'll use the initial stretches as a warm-up as well. So first of all, we're just going to bend, and you can just kind of bend your left knee up towards your shoulders like that, trying to pull it as far down, clear your rib cage, and that just stretches kind of that hip into flexion. So you can do that. We're going to do the same with the other one. So hands around the right knee now. Going to pull that right knee as far down towards our shoulder as we can. That's really good. And back down. And then let's just bend the two knees together. And this really, apart from giving a hip stretch, is just going to stretch out. Try and flatten out your lower back for this one as well. Because as I said, what happens in the hips also affects what happens in the lower back. Okay. So just to start be thinking more about other kinds of hip movements, I'm going to get you to put both feet onto the ground. Now keep your feet together, your knees are bent up, hands are by your side, and then just let your knees drop out. So your knees are just dropping out to the side, so your feet are kind of facing each other like two bookends, kind of like facing each other. So, and then you're just letting your knees drop out. And what that's actually doing, if you give it enough time and try and soften out your bum muscles and soften out your lower back, is that you might start to feel a stretch in your inner thighs, your adductor muscles. So these are very important hip muscles as well. They often get forgotten about, and often they're actually really weak as well. So we'll get to strengthening those up later. So just allowing the knees to drop out, and then just see if you can actually physically, without using your hands, see if you can drop those knees a little bit further. So that kind of contracts the bum muscles, your external rotators, and seeing if you can kind of get them a little bit more down towards the ground. So that activates the muscles, the deep muscles of your hips, deep inside your bum, and it also stretches out these inner thigh muscles, your adductors. Great stuff. Now, we're going to get that bent. We'll start with your left leg, and then just wrap it around your foot like that, and see if you can bring your foot high in front of you, keeping your knee as straight as you can. And as you can see, mine isn't straightening, But anyway, maybe you'd better look with yours. And then just holding that for a minute. I feel that at the back of my thigh, my hamstring muscles, back of my knee a little bit as well. And you're keeping the other leg, the right leg, outstretched. And then just holding the belt with that left hand, see if you can drop your left leg out to the side. Now I have my right hand stretched away from me to give a counterbalance. And then I'm just seeing how far down I can get that leg without my right leg, which is the one on the mat, without that lifting up. Okay? And you can play around with keeping your knee a little bit bent or straightening it, but trying to get a nice inner thigh stretch going there. Okay? And then coming back up. You can swap legs, so I'm now going to put my right leg into the belt. I'm now going to hold the belt with my right hand, and I'm going to get my left hand out to the side to counterbalance. And this time I'm going to bring that right leg as far out as I can. And I'm hitting my heater, so I can't bring it any further. But it's okay, you know, as far as you can go with, you know, reasonable comfort. And feeling a nice stretch on the inner thigh, trying to keep that other leg straight on the mat. And coming back up. That's lovely. And if you want, you can play around doing the two legs together. It's up to yourself. Okay, so that was kind of getting your adductors stretched out. We're now going to roll over onto our stomach. Okay, so when we're on our stomach, this gives us an opportunity to stretch the front of the hips. The hip flexors, which are attached to your quads, but they're also connected to your lower abdominal muscles. So they're really linked along a chain the whole way up your body. So lying in this position, sometimes that's enough of a stretch for some people. So put your two hands, forearms out in front of you like that. Just get your head down for a minute. Take a couple of breaths. And then I'm going to get you to get your right knee, bend it up, and then bring that right hand behind you so that it grabs your foot. Okay. Now in this position, we're not going to make the focus of this to get our knee to our bum. You can't, well, you can if you want to, but actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to kick away my leg. This kind of a movement here, kicking my leg away, but my hand is holding on, and what that does is it pulls my shoulder out of the socket and it pulls my hip up off the ground. So that's a side bow stretch. Stretching out, stretching out. And I can really feel that at the front of my thigh, my hip flexors as well. So you can tweak that one so that you feel that more in your thigh or your hip flexors, which are the ones at the front of the groin. Okay, so we're going to do that on the other leg. Get your right forearm out in front of you, facing the front of the mat, and then going to get the left hand back, touching off the left foot. Kick the foot into the hand, allows you to lift that other shoulder up off the ground, and again, that is actually stretching. Certainly for me anyway, that's where I feel it, is in the front of my thigh. Some people feel that in their lower back as well. You might feel it in the front of your shoulder. That's fine. It all just depends. Okay. And coming back down. Now, we're going to come onto all fours. And then I'm going to get you to bring your feet, your knees wide to the side, each side of your mat. So it's on each side of your mat. And then you're going to drop down kind of into a child's pose, but that your legs are wide. So it's slightly different to a regular child's pose where your knees would be nearer together and you'd be dropping back, kind of getting your bum onto your heels. This time you're going to have your knees as wide as possible. Mine are coming off the side of my mat. And then coming down like that. So it's the same stretch, but it's a wide leg child's pose. And get your forehead to the ground. And depending how far you can get your knees apart, you should really feel that in your adductors, which is your inner thigh muscles, your groin muscles. So breathing into that position, breathing into that position. Good job. Ooh, that's a really good one to do later on your own. If you want to improve the flexibility of those thigh muscles, and then getting you to drop down again onto your front. Okay, let's do a bit of a strengthening one. So you can put your 2 forearms out in front of you, and then raising your left leg up first, just lifting with a straight leg, trying to lift that left leg as far up as you can. You can point your toe down towards the ground. That really contracts the lower back muscles and your bum muscles, which are your hip extensors, your glutes. And back down. Let's do that 3 times. Left leg, lifting up, hold, 2, 3, back down, and again, hold, 2, 3, and back down, and the other side, 1, 2, 3, and back down. Again, seeing if you can point that foot towards the ground. 1, 2, 3, and back down. 1, 2, 3, and back down. Okay, now let's come up onto all fours, and we're going to do a couple of lunges because these are really good for your hip flexors as well. So first of all, with your left leg, bring that left leg forwards, bring it onto the outside of your left hand. So your hands are in the middle, left leg is out of the side, and then you can just roll around your hips, roll them forwards and backwards a little bit. And depending on your body, you might feel that strongly in the back leg on your hip flexors, or in fact you might feel it in your adductors of your front leg. It depends on your body. I'm getting a cramp in my foot. Ugh. There we go. Stretching in. See if you can look forwards. Keep the shoulders away from the ears and breathe. Good job. And breathe. And if you're somebody who sits a lot for your job, these muscles could well be tight for you. So this is a great stretch. And coming back down. And then we're going to do the same on the other leg. Right leg out. And again, you can shimmy that back leg away from you if you want to get a better stretch. Foot is on the outside of the hands. And then see if you can get that back hip lower onto the ground. And again, you can roll around here, rolling a little bit from side to side. Really good. Okie dokie. And coming back down. Alrighty, so we're going to get onto all fours. Weight on the bases of your fingers, particularly your index finger and thumb. And then you're just going to walk your hands one breath forwards. We're going to turn this into an upward dog. So roll your arms around so that the front of your elbows, the creases are facing forwards. It engages your shoulder muscles. Then drop your hips down onto the ground, keeping your arms straight. Now for some people, they can't get their hips fully down. Either their back stops them or their hip flexors sometimes. Okay, so that's kind of an upward dog. It's not quite. If we want to make it into a full upward dog, we tuck our toes under and lift the knees up as well. So that really engages the glutes muscles as well. Muscles at the back of the bone. But keep your arms straight. But sometimes just staying on your knees and allowing a stretch is really good. Stretch the front of your hips. And coming back up. Good job. So, you can wiggle your hips from side to side. Wiggle hips side to side. And then just drop back into a child's pose for a minute. Head to the ground, forward to the ground. Your bum down as far as your heels. And then you can just, in that position, wiggle your hips from side to side as well. Wiggling the hips. Try and get the right cheek of the bum down to the heel. Roll around, get the left one down, and seeing if you can just go a little bit further down with each stretch. So we're not really concentrating on our arms in this one. Today is our hip day, okay? Great, and coming back up. So we're going to do a short standing thread, 3 or 4, maybe 5 poses that are kind of really activate the hips. Now the first one we're going to do, I'll first of all do it facing you so you can just see me. So this is pyramid pose. This is a great pose. So you're going to step your right leg forwards and the left leg is behind, not as far as you can go, but a couple of feet apart. And then you're going to turn that left foot about 45 degrees out from you and the front foot is facing forwards. I'm just going to tip this down a little bit so you can see my feet a bit better. Okay, so here we go. That's going to be your position. And then what you're going to do is both what people call hip bones, they're not really, these are your hip bones here, but anyway, we call these ones. Try and have those facing forwards, so they're actually both facing in the same direction forwards, okay? And that's your basic position for that pose before we bend forwards, okay? It's really important. And when you're doing that, you want to rotate this leg that's in front, you want to rotate that around and backwards, and that'll bring that hind leg, the hip forward a bit. So that's pyramid pose, and we're going to do that from standing. So I'm going to put this up again so you can see me. Sorry for the technological difficulties. Okay, so going to face the front of the mat. Right foot forward, left foot behind. Going to face both hips forward, knees are straight. Really, really have those 2 hip bones facing forwards, and in that position, looking forwards, bend forwards in the middle and look down towards your big toe. If that's really challenging, you might want to widen your stance a bit if you kind of feel that you're kind of losing your balance a little bit. But that's quite a strong stretch for the muscles at the back of your leg. But also, if you're doing it right, you really need to activate your hip muscles so that your right hip is actually rotating around and backwards, and the left hip is rotating forwards. So that's kind of the activity that's going on, and then grasping behind your back in that position. Okay, hands to the waist, coming back up. Okay, we're going to shimmy that back leg back a little bit, and then the back leg, we're going to face it to the side of the mat, and then we're going to drop into a warrior 2 pose. So you're going to be lunging forward over that front leg. The weight is on the outside of the back leg, the little toe side. So what that does is it activates your external rotation. This one, you should be really trying to splay your hips wide. Bring that knee, that front knee out. You're bringing it out to the side. So you're really activating, you should really feel that in your bum muscles, okay? Really feeling that in your bum muscles. Drop your shoulders away from your ears, bring your arms out. Look forward over that front middle finger. Keep the feet really strong into the mat. And breathe. And breathe. And breathe. Okay, we're going to turn that into a reverse warrior. We're going to drop that left hand back to the left thigh. Bring the right hand and turn the palm upwards. All the time keeping your legs really, really externally rotated. So they're rotating away and out to the sides. And then bringing that front palm overhead. Keep your legs really strong. Contract your bum muscles. Pull your lower belly up towards your belly button. Try and breathe, but keep your legs really, really strong. This is your hip class. I want you to feel this not in your knees, but in your hips. I can feel the burn on the outsides of my both hips. So that's good. And coming back down. Now, we're going to change that. We're going to take that front leg, going to face it inwards. So now we're facing the side of the mat, should I say. Now you're going to turn, you're going to pigeon toe your legs so that your big toes are facing forwards. This internally rotates your hips. Hands to the waist, coming forwards, coming forwards, coming forwards, looking forwards, looking at the ground, and then down. Hands down to the ground. Relax your head. You can lengthen your stride here if you want. Get a bit more of an internal rotation stretch. You might feel that in your adductors, which is your inner thigh muscles. But putting the weight onto the big toe side of your foot, on both feet. And you can see the way that changes the rotation of your hips. It rotates them inwards and it gives a bit more length to your hamstrings. Good job. Now, we're going to turn that into a surfer's lunge. So we're going to walk the hands over towards the left hand side. We're going to bend that left knee. We're going to drop down, so we're lunging over the left leg. Right leg, we're going to turn the toe to face upwards. So it's a really strong adductor stretch for that right side. Ooh, I'm running out of time. We're going to do the same to the other side. Lovely. Bring that toe face upwards on the other side. Lovely. Coming back up. Hands to the waist and come back up. Let's do all of that to the other side. So, we're going to face forwards, our left leg. We're going to bring the right leg back about 2.5 feet. Right leg, which is the back leg, is now facing 45 degrees. Rotate your hips so they are facing, excuse me, the front of the mat. Keep your knees straight and then bending forwards. Keep the legs straight, and you can really feel, if you keep those hip bones facing forwards, you'll feel that that front hip, your left one, is rotating backwards, and your back leg, the hip, is rotating forwards a bit. So that's actually a really strong stretch. Hands behind your back, maybe holding your elbows if you can. Don't forget to breathe and look at your big toe. Hands to the waist, coming back up. Shimmy that back leg backwards, and now that back leg is facing the side of the mat. You're going to put the weight over the little toe side of that back leg, which is externally rotating our hip and activating the glute muscles. Front foot is facing forwards and weight is flat over the four sides. We're lunging down over that front leg. We're getting the feeling that we're splaying our hips apart. That's the feeling I want you to feel. Drop the shoulders and then bring the arms out to the side, looking over the front middle finger. Pull your lower belly up towards your belly button. Tighten the bum muscles. Woo, there we go. Warrior two. Dropping back to reverse warrior. Dropping the back arm to the back thigh. Front arm is coming overhead, palm facing downwards. Keep the bum muscles engaged. Keep your lower belly pulled up towards your belly button. Legs really, really straight, really working those external rotators of the hip. Well done. Coming forwards. Great work. Now, once again, we're turning both feet to face the side of the mat. This time we're turning our big toes inwards. And we're going to drop down, dropping down, bending from the middle. Head looking down at the floor, head finally looking down on the ground and then back through your legs. You can widen your stance if you like. Look back through your legs. And the weight this time is on the big toe side of the foot, so you're rolling your feet inwards, which sometimes gives a little bit of length for you to be able to push a little bit lower. See about straightening your knees if you can. Go easy on yourself, don't force anything. Good job. Hands to the waist, coming back up. We won't do surfers on lunge on that side, but we will do goddess pose, so we're going to just shimmy our legs a little bit nearer. This time turning our toes outwards, not inwards. Knees lunging down in the same direction as our feet. Try and splay those knees apart. Splay them apart. Arms out, goddess pose. Really feeling that you're actually separating your knees from each other. Goddess pose. Well done. Okay. And back down. With the arms coming back up. Ooh, okay. Let's do a couple of sitting poses to finish. So we're going to start, and again, I'm just going to shift my camera a little bit. Sorry guys. Okay, here we go. So we're going to do a pose called the deer pose. So legs are in front of you, like mine are here. Then I'm going to get you to get your right leg in front of you. So your knees bending in front of you like that, 90 degrees. And with the left leg, you're going to bring it out to the side, rotating it into a deer pose if you can, all right? Now, as you can see, I had to kind of rotate over onto the right cheek of my bum because I don't have the range of motion to do it without doing that. So most people have to do that, and then see about pushing yourself, your torso back towards the center, which really rotates that back hip into an internally rotated position, which isn't the easiest. Okay, deer pose. And just to make it harder, that foot that we have behind, let's just see if we can lift that foot up off the ground. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Really using our internal rotators, our glutes there. Well done. Okay, so we're going to change that around. Now that front leg, just going to get you to just shimmy your bum a little bit forwards, and then you're going to have that front leg in front of you. Don't put any pressure on your knees, and see about getting your back leg, which is your left leg, see about getting it behind you so that you're now coming up and actually, I'll show you me from the side, you like that. So the front leg is kind of bent up and the back leg is behind you. So that gives a really strong stretch to that back hip flexor, but also the external rotators on your right leg, on your front leg, they're really quite strong. So I'm going to turn and face you again. External rotation really happening out here. Don't have any strain on your knees. You need to kind of roll a little bit out of it if your knees are straining. Okay, there we go. That is pigeon pose, or half pigeon pose. We're going to do that on the other side. So changing the legs. Okay, back to having both feet in front of me. This time I'm going to get my left knee out in front of me at 90 degrees. I'm going to shimmy over onto my left hip while I lift my right one behind. So that's now 90 degrees. I find this side a little bit easier. There's always one side that's a bit easier. So that's really stretching your internal rotators of that back leg. And see if you can push your torso back towards the center. If you've had hip replacements, please don't do this, okay? Internal rotation is not good for people who've had hip replacements. But otherwise you should be safe enough to do it. Okay, and there we are, deer pose. So once again with that back foot, seeing can we lift it up? Oh, I find that one harder. So as you can see, I'm weak, so I'm kind of cheating by leaning forwards. Try not to cheat by leaning forwards, just lifting that back leg. That's number 3. Number 4. Number 5. Well done. Now we're going to change that into a pigeon. So again, I'm going to shimmy my bum forwards on the left hand side, and I'm going to see if I can get that right leg stretched out behind me, and then kind of pushing myself up a little bit. So now, again, I'll show you from the side angle. I'm now doing this kind of a pose. So I've got my left leg forwards, right leg behind. Some people like to go down a bit lower. You can do that if you like. I find a better stretch if I push myself up. I stretch into, I feel that really in my front hip more. Everybody is different. Great stuff, guys. Nearly finished. We're going to turn this into butterfly pose, Baddha Konasana. So with this one, you're going to get the 2 feet in front of you. You're sitting on your sit bones, okay? If you can't maintain sitting on your sit bones, sit against a wall when you do this one. Try and get your feet, your heel as near as possible as you can towards your groin area. If that means they're out there, so what, okay? So holding on to the feet, stay on your sit bones, lengthen up through your torso, and then seeing about dropping those knees out to the side. So actively trying to get those knees down towards the ground. Don't forget to breathe. This is a really good one. This is a great one when you've had a tough day and you're feeling tight. This one really, really loosens out your hips. Great stuff. Now we're almost out of time. I'm being really strict on myself today. So we're going to finish with a happy baby pose, okay? This is a great pose, I think, for this. That really the back of your bum and the very top of your quads, which are at the back of your hips. So lie over on your back and then get both legs up in the air and see if you can get your toes facing your face. Get your 2 index fingers and get them hooked around your thumb, your big toes, should I say. Keep your elbows inside of your knees. If you want, you can grab the outside of your feet with your hands. Some people find that easier. And then see about pulling your knees as far down towards the ground as you possibly can. Okay, that's a great pose. Keep your shoulders in contact with the mat. Keep your chin tucked in. And that's a great stretch for the back of the hips, the groin area, that whole pelvic floor area. Don't forget to breathe. And back down. Okay, so do a couple of last stretches. You can even give yourself a nice shavasana if you want to. So that was just a starter kind of a session for your hips. I hope you enjoyed that, and yeah, we'll talk again soon. Bye now.